3 days passed, and Yuna began to feel like prey. Everywhere she went, she saw Gorvin or his bodyguard Drix watching from the distance. In the docking bay while she worked, in the corridors when she walked to the cantina, outside her quarters when she came home late at night. They never approached her. They never spoke. They just watched. It was a game to Gorvin. She could see it in his eyes. He was enjoying the hunt. Yuna tried to ignore them. She focused on her work and kept her head down. But the feeling of being watched never went away. It sat on her shoulders like a heavy weight. On the third night, she called her brother. "There is a Velith noble on the station," she said. "He offered me a job as his companion. I said no. Now he follows me everywhere." Teho's face grew dark on the screen. "What is his name?" "Gorvin. I am coming back. You have cargo to deliver." His voice was hard like stone. "I do not care about the cargo. No one threatens my sister." "He has not threatened me. Not yet. He just watches." Teho was silent for a long moment. Yuna knew what he was thinking. He wanted to protect her. He always had. But she was a grown woman now. She could take care of herself. "Listen to me carefully," he finally said. "The Velith are dangerous in their own way. They do not fight with fists. They fight with money and power. Gorvin probably thinks he can do whatever he wants because no one will stop him. So what do I do? You stay alert. You stay in public places. And if he touches you..." Teho leaned closer to the screen. "You break him." After the call ended, Yuna sat alone in her quarters and thought about her brother's words. Break him. It sounded simple when Teho said it, but Yuna had never been in a real fight before. Not on an alien station where she did not know the rules. She looked at her hands. They were small, but strong. Years of mechanical work had given her a good grip. Years of training with Teho had taught her how to use her body as a weapon. Back on Earth, humans were not the biggest or the fastest animals. They did not have sharp claws or thick armor. But they survived anyway. They survived because they were smart. They were stubborn. And when they had to fight, they did not stop until the fight was over. Yuna stood up and walked to her closet. She pulled out her work boots and looked at them carefully. Then she found a small toolkit and began to modify them. By the time she was finished, the boots had magnetic grips built into the soles. They would lock onto any metal surface with a single click. Good for keeping balance. Good for staying on her feet if someone tried to knock her down. Next, she picked up her hydrospanner. It was a heavy tool, almost half a meter long. Mechanics used it to tighten bolts on ship engines. But in the right hands, it could be something else. A weapon. Yuna placed the hydrospanner next to her bed and tried to sleep. But her mind kept racing. She thought about Gorvan's cold smile. She thought about Drix's massive hands. She thought about what might happen if they cornered her somewhere dark and quiet. The next morning, she went to work like nothing was wrong. But she wore her modified boots, and she kept the hydrospanner close. Across the station, Gorvan was growing impatient. He sat in his private chamber and looked at the reports his servants had gathered. Yuna worked late shifts. She lived alone. Her brother was days away. There were no other humans nearby to help her. "She is perfect," Gorvan said. "Small, isolated, exotic. My collection has never included a human before." Drix stood near the door, his arms folded across his chest. "My lord, I must speak my concerns again." "Then speak." "I have done more research on humans. Their planet is classified as a death world. High gravity, toxic atmosphere, extreme temperatures. The creatures that survive on such a planet are not weak." Gorvan waved his hand dismissively. "Classifications mean nothing. I have seen her with my own eyes. She is tiny. She has no natural weapons. She could not hurt a Kalani child, let alone a trained bodyguard like you." The reports say humans are persistence hunters. They chase their prey for hours without stopping. They can heal from injuries that would kill other species. They feel pain, but do not stop fighting. Enough. Gorvan stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars glittered in the endless darkness. I am tired of waiting. Tonight, we take her. Every instinct in his body told him this was a mistake. He had fought many enemies in his life. He had faced warriors twice his size. But something about this human female made him nervous. It was the way she looked at Gorvan in the cantina. There was no fear in her eyes, only cold calculation, like she was measuring him, like she was deciding where to strike. But Drix was a bodyguard. His job was to follow orders, not to question them. As you wish, my lord, he said. That night, Yuna finished her shift late. The docking bay was empty. Most of the station was asleep. She walked through the corridors alone, her footsteps echoing on the metal floor. She felt them before she saw them. A presence behind her. Eyes on her back. Her heart beat faster. Her fingers tightened around the hydrospanner hanging from her belt. The corridor ahead split into two paths. One led to the main section of the station, where cameras watched every corner. The other led to a quiet maintenance tunnel, dark and empty. Yuna stopped walking. She took a deep breath and made her choice. She would not run. She would not hide. She was done being prey. She turned and faced the darkness behind her. I know you are there, she said. Her voice was steady. If you want me, come and get me. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Gorvan stepped out of the shadows, his blue skin glowing faintly in the dim light. Drix followed behind him, massive and silent. Brave little human, Gorvan said. I like that. It will make breaking you so much more satisfying. Yuna smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Funny, she said. I was thinking the same thing about you. The corridor was silent, except for the soft hum of the station's engines. Yuna stood with her back against the wall, her eyes moving between Gorvan and his bodyguard Drix. The Velith noble looked amused. Drix looked cautious. Let me explain how this will work, Gorvan said. He walked closer, his expensive shoes clicking on the metal floor. You will come with us quietly. You will behave yourself. And in return, I will treat you well. You will live in luxury for the rest of your life. And if I say no? Yuna asked. Gorvan tilted his head like a curious bird. Your kind does not get to say no to mine. We are Velith. We have ruled these stars for 10,000 years. You are nothing but a primitive from a backwater planet. He reached out to grab her wrist. What happened next changed everything. Yuna moved, not away from Gorvan, but toward him. Her hand shot up and caught his wrist before he could touch her. His skin was cool and smooth, like glass. His bones felt thin under her fingers. For 1 second, Gorvan looked confused. Then Yuna twisted her body, dropped her weight, and pulled. The throw was simple. Tejo had taught it to her years ago in their family's small apartment on Earth. Use their momentum against them. Use their weight against them. Let gravity do the work. Gorvan flew over her shoulder and hit the metal floor with a sound like breaking wood. His scream echoed through the corridor. He tried to get up, but his body would not obey. His shoulder was wrong. His arm hung at a strange angle. Drix charged forward. He was fast for his size. His massive fist swung toward Yuna's head like a hammer. But Yuna was already moving. She clicked her boots and felt the magnetic grips lock onto the floor. Her balance was solid, unshakable. She ducked under the punch and pulled the hydrospanner from her belt in one smooth motion. The heavy tool swung in an arc and connected with Drix's knee. On Earth, it would have broken a human leg, but Drix was a Kalani. His joints bent the opposite direction from human joints. The strike hit the weakest point of his body. The sound was wet and horrible. Drix screamed and fell, his leg folding in a way that should have been impossible. He hit the ground and did not get up. Gorvin was crawling away, leaving a trail of blue blood on the floor. His face was twisted in pain and something else, something Yuna had never seen in his eyes before. Fear. "What are you?" he gasped. "What are you?" Yuna walked toward him. Her footsteps were slow and steady. The hydrospanner hung at her side, dripping with Drix's blue blood. "I told you," she said. "I am human." Gorvin tried to speak. Maybe he wanted to beg, maybe he wanted to offer her money. Yuna did not give him the chance. She kicked him in the ribs with her heavy work boot. She felt something crack under her foot. Gorvan's body curled into a ball as he screamed again. His thin Velith bones were not made for this kind of punishment. They shattered like dry branches. Still, Yuna did not stop. She thought about the way he had watched her, the way he had followed her, the way he talked about her like she was property, like she was a thing to be collected and displayed. She kicked him again and again. When she finally stepped back, Gorvan was not moving. His jaw was twisted at a wrong angle. His chest rose and fell in short, painful gasps. Blue blood pooled beneath him, spreading across the metal floor. Yuna looked at her hands. They were shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline, from the rushing fire in her blood that told her the fight was over. She heard footsteps running toward her, voices shouting in alien languages. Station security was coming. Good, she thought. Let them come. Let them see. They were tall aliens with gray uniforms and shocked expressions. They looked at Gorvan, lying in his own blood. They looked at Drix, whimpering on the ground with his broken leg. Then, they looked at Yuna. "What happened here?" the lead officer asked. Yuna dropped the hydrospanner. It hit the floor with a heavy clang. "He tried to grab me," she said. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. "I defended myself." The officers looked at each other. They did not seem to know what to do. One of them called for medical help. Another began recording the scene. Yuna let them take her to the security office. She answered their questions. She told them everything. The stalking, the threats, the attack. The surveillance cameras had recorded it all. Every alien in the station could see what happened. Gorvan and Drix had cornered her in the corridor. Gorvan had reached for her first. She had only defended herself. But the video showed something else too. It showed how fast Yuna moved, how hard she hit, how easily she took down two aliens who were bigger and stronger than her. The security officers watched the recording 5 times. Each time, they looked more and more disturbed. "She is so small," one of them whispered. "How is this possible?" In the medical bay, doctors worked to save Gorvan's life. His jaw was broken in 3 places. They had to wire it shut. He would not be able to eat solid food for months. A feeding tube went down his throat. His shoulder was dislocated. His ribs were shattered. One had punctured his lung. Internal bleeding filled his chest cavity. The lead doctor had never seen anything like it. She had treated warriors and soldiers. She had patched up victims of terrible accidents. But she had never seen a single person do this much damage with their bare hands and a simple tool. "What species did this?" she asked. "Human," the nurse replied. "A female human." The doctor stared at the broken body on her table. "Impossible," she said. "I thought so too," the nurse said, "until I saw the video." Across the station, word began to spread. In cantinas and docking bays, aliens whispered to each other about what happened, about the tiny human female who destroyed a Velith noble and his bodyguard in less than a minute. Some did not believe it. They said the video must be fake. They said humans were weak and harmless. Everyone knew that. But others remembered old stories. Stories about Earth. Stories about a planet where the gravity crushed bones, where fire fell from the sky, where creatures with teeth and claws hunted anything that moved. Stories about the monsters that lived there, and for the first time, the aliens of Velar 9 began to wonder if those stories were true. The station administrator's name was Velix. He was an old Velith, with pale skin and tired eyes. He had run orbital station Velar 9 for 30 years. He had seen wars, plagues, and economic collapses. He thought nothing could surprise him anymore. He was wrong. Velix sat in his office and stared at the holographic screen floating above his desk. The security footage played again and again. Each time, he watched the small human female throw a Velith noble like he weighed nothing. Each time, he watched her break a Kelani warrior's leg with a single strike. "This is not possible," he said for the 10th time. "She is 60 kilograms at most. Gorvin's bodyguard weighs 4 times that." The station's chief xenobiologist stood nearby. His name was Torek. He was a thin creature with large eyes and too many fingers. His job was to study alien species and understand how they worked. "I thought the same thing," Torek said. "So I did some research on her planet." He pressed a button, and a new image appeared. A blue and green world floating in space. Earth. "I always assumed Earth was a standard life-bearing planet," Torek continued. "Low threat, low gravity, nothing special. But I was wrong." He pulled up a list of data. Numbers and categories filled the screen. Earth's gravity is 1.0 standard units. That might not sound like much, but it places the planet in the high gravity category. Most sapient species develop on worlds with 0.7 or 0.8 gravity. Humans live their entire lives under conditions that would exhaust us in hours. Velix shook his head. "That cannot be right." "It gets worse." Torek changed the display. "Earth's atmosphere contains 21% oxygen. That is dangerously high. On most worlds, that concentration would cause constant fires. On Earth, fires are so common they have shaped the entire ecosystem. The humans evolved to breathe what we would call combustion fuel." The administrator said nothing. His face had gone pale. "Their planet experiences extreme temperature shifts," Torek continued. "Some regions drop below freezing. Others rise high enough to boil water. The same human can survive in both environments with minimal protection." "How is that possible?" "They regulate their own body temperature internally. Their blood carries heat or cold wherever it is needed. It is an incredibly energy-intensive process, which is why they eat so much and so often." Velix thought about the human workers he had seen in the station cantina. They were always eating. He had assumed they were simply greedy. Now he understood it was survival. Torek pulled up another image. This one showed creatures from Earth, animals with claws and fangs, massive predators with hungry eyes. "Earth is home to thousands of apex predators," he said. "Creatures that hunt and kill for food. Humans share their planet with these monsters. They always have. And they survived? They did more than survive. They became the dominant species." Torek looked at the administrator with something like awe in his eyes. "Humans are persistence hunters. They do not rely on speed or strength to catch prey. They walk, they follow, they track their target for hours, sometimes days, until it collapses from exhaustion. Then they close in." The room was very quiet. "Their bones are denser than ours," Torek continued. "Their muscles anchor deeper into their skeleton. They can take damage that would kill a Velith or Kalani and keep fighting. They heal faster too. Broken bones mend in weeks. Wounds close in days. They are remarkably hard to kill." Velix thought about Gorvin, lying in the medical bay with tubes in his throat and machines keeping him alive. He thought about Drix, whose leg would never work properly again. "Why did no one know this?" he asked. "Because humans do not look dangerous. They have no claws, no fangs, no armor. When we first made contact with Earth, We assumed they were soft and harmless. We classified them as a primitive species with limited potential. Torek pressed another button. A new classification appeared on the screen. Earth, Death World, Class 4. Someone made a mistake, Torek said. A very serious mistake. The administrators stared at the words. Death World. The galactic community used that term for planets so dangerous that visiting them required special equipment and training. Planets where the environment itself could kill you. And humans came from such a place. There is one more thing, Torek said. Perhaps the most important thing. What? They form intense emotional connections with family members and friends. These bonds are so strong that they will risk their lives to protect each other. Torek paused. And they will seek revenge against anyone who hurts someone they care about. As if the universe wanted to prove his point, a message arrived at that exact moment. A cargo ship had just dropped out of hyperspace and was requesting emergency docking. Velix checked the ship's registration. His blood went cold. The ship belonged to Tejo, Yuna's brother. He was 3 days away, the administrator whispered. He should not be here for 2 more days at least. He burned through his fuel reserves, Torek replied. He pushed his engines beyond safe limits. He risked destroying his ship to get here faster. Velix stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the cargo ship approaching the station. Its engines were glowing red from strain. What do we do? He asked. I suggest we release the female immediately, Torek said. And I suggest we make sure her brother knows she is safe, quickly, before he decides to seek his own justice. The administrator nodded slowly. And Gorvan's family? They will demand compensation. They will want the human punished. Torek pulled up the security footage one more time. The small human female throwing a noble across the corridor, breaking a warrior's leg with a single blow, standing over her fallen enemies with cold eyes and bloody hands. I think, Torek said carefully, that Gorvan's family should consider themselves lucky the human let him live. The administrator said nothing. He just watched the cargo ship dock at the station and waited for the storm to arrive. Down in the security office, Yuna sat alone in a small room. Her hands had been cleaned. Her clothes had been changed. But she could still feel the weight of the hydrospanner in her grip. She could still hear the sound of bones breaking. She did not feel guilty. She felt alive. The door opened, and a security officer stepped inside. His face was strange. Not angry, not threatening. Something else. Something that looked almost like respect. You are free to go, he said. All charges have been dropped. The surveillance footage proves you acted in self-defense. Yuna stood up. And Gorvan? He is in the medical bay. He will survive. The officer paused. Barely. Good. She walked past him and into the corridor. Aliens moved out of her way. They did not push or shove like they usually did. They gave her space. They lowered their eyes. Word had spread. Yuna walked toward the docking bay. She did not know her brother had arrived. She did not know he had burned through 3 days of fuel in 18 hours just to reach her. But when she turned a corner and saw him running toward her, she understood. Tejo grabbed her and pulled her into a hug so tight she could barely breathe. His body was shaking. His face was wet with tears he would never admit to. I am okay, she whispered. I am okay. I know, he said. I saw the footage. He pulled back and looked at her. His eyes were red, his jaw was tight. But behind the fear and the relief, Yuna saw something else burning. Rage. Where is he? Tejo asked. Where is the one who tried to take you? Yuna shook her head. It is over. I handled it. It is not over. Tejo's voice was cold as steel. It will not be over until I look him in the eye and make sure he understands what happens to people who threaten my family. Yuna did not argue. When he made up his mind, Nothing in the universe could stop him. Not even a broken Velith noble with a tube down his throat. 3 days after the incident, a Velith ambassador arrived on the station. Her name was Lady Vorath. She was tall and elegant, with skin the color of winter ice. She wore robes that cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. She represented Gorvan's family, one of the oldest and richest houses in the Velith Empire. And she was furious. "This is an outrage," she said, standing in Administrator Velix's office. "A primitive creature attacked a noble of the Velith Empire. She broke his bones, she shattered his jaw. He is eating through a tube like an infant. And you are telling me she walks free?" Velix sat behind his desk and tried not to show his fear. Dealing with angry nobles was never pleasant. But this time, he had something Lady Vorath did not expect. "The truth. My lady, I understand your concerns," he said calmly. "But perhaps you should watch the security footage before making demands." He pressed a button, and the holographic screen came to life. Lady Vorath watched in silence as the scene unfolded. Gorvan and Drix cornering the human female. Gorvan reaching for her. And then, the ambassador's face changed. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth fell open. "That is impossible," she whispered. "She is so small." "That was our reaction as well," Velix replied, "until we learned what Earth really is." He pulled up the planetary classification. Death World, Class 4. Lady Vorath read the data slowly, her expression growing more troubled with each line. "High gravity," she murmured. "Extreme temperatures. Apex predators everywhere. And these humans, they hunted their prey by chasing it until it died from exhaustion." "Correct." Lady Vorath sat down heavily in a chair. For the first time since she arrived, she looked uncertain. "My lady," Velix continued, "I must be honest with you. Your nephew attempted to kidnap a citizen of a death world. He tried to enslave a member of a species that evolved to survive conditions that would kill most of us in hours. He is lucky to be alive." "Lucky?" Lady Vorath's voice was sharp. "He cannot speak. He cannot eat. He will need months of surgery to repair the damage." "And yet he breathes." Velix leaned forward. "I have reviewed Earth's legal customs. Do you know what they do to kidnappers on their planet? The punishments vary by region, but many involve years of imprisonment. Some involve death. Your nephew walked into a corridor with the intention of taking a human female against her will. By their standards, she showed remarkable restraint." Lady Vorath was silent for a long moment. Then she straightened in her chair and lifted her chin. "The Velith Honor Code demands satisfaction. Gorvan's honor was insulted. His body was damaged. Someone must pay." As if on cue, the door slid open. Tejo walked in. He was not as tall as the Velith, but he filled the room in a way that had nothing to do with size. His shoulders were broad. His arms were thick with muscle. His eyes were dark and cold, like the depths of space itself. Lady Vorath felt something she had not felt in decades. Her heart began to beat faster. Her body wanted to run. "I heard you want satisfaction," Tejo said. His voice was calm and quiet. "I am here to discuss terms." Lady Vorath looked at Velix. The administrator shrugged helplessly. "You are the brother," she said. "I am." "You have no authority here. You are not a noble. You are not a diplomat. You are just a cargo hauler." Tejo smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "And your nephew is just a broken man with a tube in his throat. Funny how things work out." Lady Vorath stood up sharply. "You dare to threaten me?" "I dare nothing." Tejo walked closer until he was standing right in front of her. She was taller than him, but somehow it felt like he was looking down at her. "I am simply telling you how things are. Your nephew tried to take my sister. She stopped him. Now you want revenge. But let me explain something you might not understand." He leaned in close. Lady Vorath could smell something on him. Something primal. Something dangerous. "Humans do not forget," he said softly. "We do not forgive. If you push this, if you try to hurt my sister again, I will not wait for her to defend herself. I will find everyone responsible, and I will break them the way she broke your nephew, and I will take my time doing it." The room was very still. Lady Vorath had faced enemies before. She had negotiated with warlords and criminals. She had stared down threats from species that could kill with a glance. But this human frightened her in a way she could not explain. It was his certainty. There was no anger in his voice, no emotion at all. He was not making threats. He was making promises, and she believed every word. "The complaint is withdrawn," she said quietly. Tejo nodded. "Good choice." He turned and walked out of the room without looking back. Lady Vorath stood in silence for several minutes. Then she looked at Administrator Velix with haunted eyes. "Update the station records," she said. "Add a warning about humans. Make it clear. Make it visible. I want every species on this station to know what they are dealing with." Within hours, the message spread across Velar 9. It traveled from cantina to docking bay, from merchant to worker, from alien to alien. "Do not touch the Earthlings." In the medical bay, Gorvan woke up to find a datapad resting on his chest. His jaw was wired shut. A tube ran down his throat. He could not speak. He could barely move. But he could read. The message was from Administrator Velix. "The human female has been cleared of all charges. Self-defense was confirmed by multiple surveillance recordings. She has requested a transfer to a different work shift so she will not have to encounter you again. Your family has withdrawn their complaint. No further action will be taken. Consider yourself fortunate. Her brother wished to visit you personally. I convinced him that would be unnecessary. I suggest you leave this station as soon as you are able to travel. I suggest you never return. And I suggest you remember this lesson for the rest of your life." Some prey bites back. Gorvan stared at the ceiling. Blue tears leaked from his eyes. He had thought humans were weak, primitive, easy targets. He would never make that mistake again. 6 months passed. Life on Velar 9 returned to normal, but something had changed. The humans on the station were treated differently now. Aliens made room for them in crowded corridors. Merchants gave them fair prices. Security officers nodded respectfully when they passed. Yuna was promoted to chief mechanic. She ran the repair bay with quiet efficiency. She trained new workers. She fixed ships that no one else could fix. And whenever someone looked at her strangely, she just smiled. She knew what they were thinking. They were wondering if the stories were true. If this small, quiet woman had really destroyed 2 aliens with her bare hands. She never confirmed or denied it. The mystery was part of her power now. One day, a young Kelani girl approached her in the docking bay. She was barely old enough to work, with wide eyes and nervous hands. "Excuse me," the girl said. "Are you Yuna, the human?" Yuna set down her tools. "I am." "Is it true what they say, that you broke a Velith noble with your bare hands?" Yuna considered the question. Then she picked up her Hydra spanner and showed it to the girl. "I used a wrench for most of it," she said. The girl's eyes went wide. "Can you teach me? How to fight, I mean. How to protect myself?" Yuna looked at the young alien carefully. She saw something familiar in those eyes. Fear, vulnerability, the knowledge that the universe was dangerous and no one else was going to save her. "First lesson," Yuna said. She held up the Hydra spanner. "Always keep your wrench close." The girl nodded seriously. "What is the second lesson?" "Never let anyone make you feel small." Far across the galaxy, on a broken ship heading home, Gorvan sat alone in his quarters. His jaw had healed, but the scars remained. He could eat solid food again, but everything tasted like ash. His family had disowned him. His reputation was ruined. He had nothing left except memories and nightmares. Every night he dreamed of dark eyes and bloody hands. Every night he woke up screaming. He had learned his lesson, but so had everyone else. The word spread from station to station, from world to world, from one end of the galaxy to the other. It became a warning, a proverb, a truth that every species came to understand. Humans looked weak. Humans looked soft. Humans looked like easy prey. They were not. And anyone foolish enough to forget that lesson would learn it the way Gorvin did. The wrench slipped from Yuna's fingers and fell to the metal floor with a loud clang. She wiped the sweat from her forehead and looked up at the massive engine above her. 6 months ago, she had never seen an alien spaceship. Now she fixed them every day. Orbital Station Velar 9 floated in the darkness of space like a giant metal wheel. Thousands of aliens lived and worked here. They came from dozens of different worlds to trade goods, repair ships, and make deals. And somewhere in this huge place, Yuna and 11 other humans were trying to make a living. She picked up her wrench and crawled back under the Velith merchant cruiser. The ship belonged to a rich trader who wanted his engine fixed before morning. Yuna did not mind the hard work. She liked being useful. She liked proving that humans could do things just as well as anyone else. Most aliens on the station did not think much of humans. Earth had only made contact with the galactic community 3 years ago. To the older species, humans were newcomers, primitives, children who had just learned to walk among the stars. Yuna tightened the last bolt and slid out from under the ship. She stood up and stretched her back. Her muscles ached from hours of work, but she felt good. The job was done. Her communicator buzzed. She pulled it from her pocket and saw her brother's face on the small screen. "Hey, little sister," Tejo said. His voice was tired, but warm. "How is the night shift treating you?" "Same as always," Yuna replied. "Broken ships and aliens who think I cannot do my job." Tejo laughed. He was 5 years older than Yuna and worked as a cargo hauler. His job took him across the sector, moving goods from one station to another. He was gone for days at a time, but he always called to check on her. "Anyone giving you trouble?" he asked. "Nothing I cannot handle. That is what worries me." Yuna smiled. Tejo had always been protective. Back on Earth, he had taught her how to fight, how to throw a punch, how to use her size and speed against bigger opponents. He said the universe was dangerous, and he wanted her to be ready. She finished the call and walked across the docking bay. The station was quieter during the night cycle. Most aliens were sleeping or resting in their quarters. Yuna liked the silence. It gave her time to think. She stopped at a small cantina near the repair section and ordered a drink. The bartender was a short creature with 4 arms and large black eyes. He did not talk much, which Yuna appreciated. She was halfway through her drink when she noticed someone watching her. The alien was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow under the cantina lights. He wore expensive clothes made of shimmering fabric. Gold rings decorated his long fingers. Everything about him screamed wealth and power. He was a Velith. Yuna recognized the species. They controlled most of the trade in this sector. They were elegant and intelligent, but also arrogant. They believed they were better than everyone else. The Velith male walked toward her table. A massive creature followed behind him like a shadow. This one was different. He was built like a wall of muscle, with thick gray skin and small eyes that watched everything. A bodyguard. "Good evening," the Velith said. His voice was smooth like silk. "I do not believe I have seen your species before. What are you?" "Human," Yuna said. "From Earth." "Earth." He said the word like he was tasting something new. "How interesting. I am Gorvin, and you are?" "Busy." Gorvin smiled, but the smile did not reach his eyes. "I like your spirit. It is rare to find such fire in a female from a primitive world. Yuna felt her muscles tense. She did not like the way he looked at her. It was not attraction. It was something else, something hungry. I have a job offer for you, Gorvin continued. I am always looking for exotic companions to join my household. You would live in luxury. You would never have to work again. No thank you, Yuna said. She stood up and put money on the table. I like my job. She walked away without looking back, but she could feel his eyes following her all the way to the door. Later that night, Gorvin sat in his private quarters and looked at a holographic image of Yuna. His bodyguard, Drix, stood nearby, silent as always. Find out everything about her, Gorvin said. Her schedule, her living quarters, her weaknesses. Drix hesitated. My lord, I have heard strange things about her species. They call their planet a death world. The gravity is heavy. The climate is harsh. They say humans are more dangerous than they appear. Gorvin laughed. Look at her, Drix. She is small. She has no claws, no fangs, no venom. What could she possibly do to me? He waved his hand and the image disappeared. She is just another pretty creature from a primitive rock, and soon she will be mine. Drix said nothing, but deep in his gut he felt something he had not felt in years. It took him a moment to recognize the feeling. It was fear. Across the station, Yuna lay in her small bed and stared at the ceiling. She could not sleep. The Velith noble's face kept appearing in her mind. The way he smiled, the way he talked about her, like she was a thing to be owned. She had seen that look before. On Earth, men like him existed too, men who took what they wanted and never faced consequences. But this was not Earth. She was alone here. Her brother was days away, and something told her that Gorvin was not the type to accept rejection. Yuna rolled over and looked at the heavy wrench sitting on her desk. She had brought it home from the repair bay, just in case. Tomorrow she would be more careful. She would watch her back. She would trust her instincts. Because in the darkness of space, far from home, the only person she could truly rely on was herself.